This is Fantasy Football Till Death. V17.
We are live.
We're live, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually round 2. We had a great little opening intro.
Probably our best opening.
It was cool.
Season.
It was natural. This is the FFtilD Podcast. We're on episode 14. It's week 15 of the NFL season. I'm Thomas, joined alongside, as always, my co-host Sam Singer.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Sam, welcome to your full-time editing role.
You know, honestly, it just feels good to just be able to focus on one thing, and that's editing the podcast.
Was it tough to multitask, like full-time managing a fantasy football team while also just having the hounds down your back at all times to get this pod out efficiently? Audio quality great.
I think I understand where Elon Musk is coming from. It's hard to wear a lot of hats. A multi-million-dollar media conglomerate known as the FFtilD Pod. One of the league's and the world's most mediocre fantasy football teams. You know, it's tough. It's tough. So good to have that pared down now just to the one hat.
Well, congrats on a season well played. I know, obviously, not the result you were looking for. We can get into that a little bit later. We have a fun pod in store for you guys today. Sam, want to give them a quick little rundown?
Well, basically, the majority of how we're going to spend our time today is a new segment called, I'm just coming up with this name on the spot.
Yeah, for sure.
The first annual FFtilD Fantasy Football Manager Award Extravaganza, sponsored by
Miller Lite.
Miller Lite.
Guys, the regular season is officially in the books. Last week, capped it, and now we push towards the playoffs. I'm hoping that everyone is still engaged enough to listen to the podcast. I know, once the season ends for a lot of people, myself included, it's easy to check out as far as, getting your mind away from fantasy. You can stay off the app, you can delete the app, but, give it a listen when the podcast drops, because this is us just supporting each other, and there's still content to be had involving you.
Exactly. And let's give a round of applause to our 6 teams who are venturing into the beyond, into the postseason. We had a pretty fun, wild week last week. A lot still to be decided. 10 of our 12 teams still technically were alive heading into last week. And I'm not going to lie, when I saw Sam Darnold throw his second touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson, I thought, hey, maybe there is a chance I might find my way into the dance. Alas, Evan, the Stallion, Jordan Addison sent me to my grave. Along with me, Springfield, Hunter. I think that's it.
Last week, who got officially eliminated?
Yeah, with Evan's win.
Oh, yeah. With Evan's win. Yeah. So wait, last week, if Hunter had just had a bad week and everything played out the same, would you have made the playoffs? Assuming you beat Evan?
If I would have beat Evan by, I think it was 30 something. If I would have beat Hunter in points, I think I needed to outscore everyone by like 30 points. Like, it was a super long shot.
Basically, you needed to beat Evan while having him and Hunter have bad weeks.
Yeah, or I put up like 150, 155, and Evan puts up 108, and Hunter puts up whatever, so yeah, when I looked and I saw like, oh shit, JJ's finally having a big game, Darnold's looking good, there's a shot, but no, not when Jordan Addison is the bulk of the reason that Sam Darnold has a good game. So
that was an epic.
It was 2 good minutes.
Those were some good minutes.
Those were 2 good minutes.
I was like casually fly on the wall observing, and because I thought there was no shot for you at all, which, I mean, basically there wasn't, but as those events were unfolding, I mean, you needed Ben, I think, to beat Hunter so that he was out of the wild card contention. Ben had less points, right? So you wanted to be going against him for that spot. But There was a brief glimmer of hope for you there. But
Ever so fleeting.
Besides that, I think the thing that stood out the most was this Griffin Springfield Jason matchup.
Yep.
Where it worked out. Well, Evan would have needed to lose as well for Springfield, which that was right there for him. But Jason from the grave, cobbling together.
Bryce Young.
One of the best teams we've seen in a while.
Let's go, Jay.
And Griffin Springfield
stricken down.
It was the final blow to a tumultuous season and a tumultuous ending of the season for him. Things just never clicked with his squad. A lot of underperformances. And I know that's not the team that Griffin likes to build. A lot of guys that expect to get paid before having the showing on the field.
I was going to say, is the takeaway for Springfield next year? Don't have as good of a team.
We're going to be giving out some awards later. I think there's an award to be had there, but I think, he made some good calls with recruiting players, with trading players onto the team that just somehow, I feel like almost instantly didn't work out. It wasn't even like a slow, drawn out death. It was like, all right, I've got Neighbors, and clearly Neighbors just isn't the guy that I traded for.
Oh, 100%. And insult to injury, the guys that he traded away.
Yeah.
I'm thinking specifically of that very first trade with Evan, just popping.
Right.
McLaurin turning into wide receiver 1, Baker being a top 5 QB, Gibbs being Gibbs. I mean,
right. The moves, most of the individual moves themselves were good moves, were shrewd moves, had at least in that moment, a ton of upside. But conversely, what was so wild about most of them is that there was an instant sort of like transformation where it was like, okay, maybe that wasn't a good trade for me. He didn't have to sit there like thinking for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, like, oh, is this going to turn around? He had some like pretty instant, like, oh my gosh, wait a second. That probably wasn't a good trade for me sort of thing, which is so wild. The juxtaposition of like in the moment it being a good trade to like immediately like it not being great trade was probably quicker than I've seen in fantasy in a long time.
It's brutal. I mean, hindsight is such a biatch in fantasy football, typically for one side and not for the other. But that's tough. But nonetheless, even though he made all these trades, I believe he most of the time got the best player in the deal.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the trades under a microscope in that moment, the trades seem pretty solid. But I mean, I think things turned quickly, right? There was a week or two window after all of his trades where you're like, man, that team looks sparkling. But like the sparkle weared off quickly on the overall team. I think he'll say that too. I mean, you look at it and you're like, yeah, the name value or the person on paper isn't at all what I thought it was going to be. Right.
Absolutely.
It was just one of those things, JT and company. It was just tough year for Springfield. He finishes at 5-9. I guess we can just do a quick recap just how things fell out in the divisions. Since we're there with Spring, we'll stay huge in Japan. Jason ends 4-10. So it ends on a high note.
Oh, yeah.
A little too late there. Loses the tiebreaker with Kendall for points scored. I haven't dug deep, but I know that's the lowest points scored in a little bit, at least last year. And this is with points, I think, across the board, somewhat on the rise with that added flex. So tough year for Jay. 4-10, last place. Luke and I battled to the very end. We both go 11-3. I win courtesy of divisional record. Luke finishes second place. First time ever in our league that there's two 11-3 teams at the same time. And unfortunately for Luke, it just happened to be in the same division. That's never happened before. So that's got to suck.
Bummer.
Going 11-3 and not getting a first round bye.
Such a bummer.
But yeah, that's how it played out there. And then we go to Top Gun. Casey with the last couple W's back to back wins that division. He ends 7-7. I think he scored about 330 points or something like that the last 2 weeks, something crazy.
Picked a good week in week 14
to have a good week,
to
have
score
a record-setting
the
week.
most points ever.
Crazy. Casey goes 7-7, takes the division. Hunter with a nice showing against odds of, some injuries and some lineup tinkering, has a big week, still falls short in the division. He ends 6-8, Ben 6-8 as well. And then Kendall finishes 4-10 with the points lead over Jay to avoid last place. That was a fun division all the way through. Those three teams at the top were vying for that division. And even Kendall, as of 3 weeks ago, he ended on a 3-game losing streak, but everyone was right in the mix as they went into the divisional games. And just one of those divisions where, we saw it last year with Graham. He ends 7-7 and ends up winning because he was hot at the end. And, Casey's got the opportunity to do that as well.
Oh, yeah. Casey's team is looking dangerous, obviously. We don't need a microscope to see that after last week's performance. So if he keeps it up, CMC who? Jordan Mason who?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
How about 3 short of a train? Did you finish 3 short still?
We're still looking for 3.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 4, actually, these days.
Yeah, you're not including yourself.
I'm not, yeah.
You just couldn't make the cut.
I'm just the cameraman now.
You're the editor.
3 short of a train sends 3 to the postseason, which is pretty sweet.
That's rare too.
That's rare. Pretty competitive, I would say competitive division all year. That final 6 spot came down to a close matchup between me and Ev. Ev won't let me have anything. 140 just isn't what it used to be. But, we have a lot of, I would say, a range of approaches in this division. Graham drafted a beastly team, sent him to the first round bye. Brendan made a ton of unconventional moves and finds himself with one of the strongest teams entering the postseason. And Evan had quite the up and down season, I would say, and sneaks his way into the postseason on the backs of a massive Jordan Addison performance last week. And your boy, call me daddy. 5 losses. Couldn't seem to get much right. I'm just looking at the list here. Since our trade, I beat you that week. And then you reeled off 5 straight, and I reeled off 5 straight losses. So, my.
Tough year, man. And this ended up being the most runaway when you think about it as far as record goes. Graham, with a comfortable 2-game lead over Brendan, he basically had a first-round bye locked up for the last couple weeks.
For a long time.
So, easy goings for Graham. Just line it up.
Graham just, can sit back and just rest his guys for the playoffs.
Why do I feel like Graham hasn't been called out for dialing anything up, Hunter? Why is it? I feel like is that preferential treatment? Graham has a first round bye. Did he dial anything up?
He dialed something up.
There's had to be, a little bit.
He got out
right?
the old tape measure during the draft prep. Took a lick under the hood of his stallion.
Went down to the Del Mar, the tracks.
Yep.
Went into the stables.
Yeah, I watched the horses warming up in the stables there, and
he had the VIP, that VIP access.
Oh yeah,
exclusive rights to go check out those thoroughbreds.
Saw the inside line there, that's for sure.
3 short of a train. Graham ends up on top. Sends 3 teams to the playoffs. Congrats to all 3 of them. I guess bitter disappointment, not just for you, but the fact that you end 3 short. Season-long opportunity to kind of find the missing pieces there, and I guess there's always next year.
It's a bummer. Yeah, we did go ahead and put up a profile online. There's a website that we found where we can sort of we've solicited our need for 3 more because our option contract is running out on this train situation. So we're 3 short, but.
Well, maybe you guys can run it back next year for the division.
Yeah.
Which we should do. So if we talk about, which I love, by the way, just, my unsolicited sort of feelings about the whole divisional draft thing. Great idea. I don't remember if it was Griffin Hunter or whoever had this idea to draft your division mates. Excellent,
such a good idea.
Just chef's kiss. And so I'm excited to run that back. I'm thinking inevitably we'll have another divisional vote since that seems to be the theme the last few years. But hopefully the divisions get greenlit again and we can do this draft, and maybe we can live stream the draft. We can record it. We can make it a little bit more interactive. have some fun elements to it. That would be, I think, a great piece of content for the league there.
Totally agree. All right. Well, should we move into our first annual Fantasy Football Till Death Podcast League Manager Award Extravaganza, sponsored by
Captain Morgan.
Light.
That wasn't in the script, dude.
Shit.
Follow the prompter.
Take it from the top.
Follow the prompter. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. We're going to do the first ever FFtilD Death Podcast Awards. We have cooked something up just real quick off the top. You know, we're both parents here. In fact, I am on a bit of a time crunch. I don't want to leave my lovely wife there.
She's fighting for her life back.
Parenting with this little monster we have. His name's Beckham, a.k.a. Thrash. Everyone, his nickname is now Thrash.
T.
A.k.a. T. Yep. Is gone from Beckham to T. Now his nickname is T. So in case you hear me call him T, it's
there you go. That's why. That's some inside
derivative
information.
Of Thrash. So yes, we're going to get to it. We have a list of awards that we want to hand out. We're going to put a bow on this regular season as we glide into the postseason. And, we had some fun doing this, but we want to give everyone a little bit of a shout out. We want to, pull an award out of a hat for everyone here and leave you with a little bit of something.
Let's do it.
So why don't you start us off? Why don't you start us off?
Our first annual award.
We're going to start with 3 Short of a Train.
We are starting with 3 Short of a Train. Venture with me as we give out our first ever FFtilD Death Podcast Award. And we will start with none other than Mr. Brennan Hurley himself. Brennan Hurley, carry them Caleb, this year's winner of the Agent of Chaos Award.
Dum, dum, dum.
Yeah!
Congratulations, B. Congratulations, B. The Agent of Chaos Award. Sam, why did he win this award?
This award also could be called the Martha Stewart Insider Trading Award. Because B, 2 straight years now, is throwing his hat in the ring, making deals left and right, shipping players. You wake up, you get the notification a trade has occurred in the league. You see that carry them Caleb, and you go, oh, okay, who's involved here? And 9 times out of 10, the reaction is like, whoa, it's hard for me to wrap my head around this trade. Brendan, jettison the likes of Jamar Chase, jettison the likes of Kyron. Didn't even let James Cook unpack his suitcase.
Bijan.
And his team got better every step of the way. And in its wake was total chaos throughout the rest of the league. So you look at some of those moves that he made, the butterfly effect, what it's done, ruining some teams, helping some other teams. And all along, he has plodded forward consistently, high scoring, winning record, 5th seed in the playoffs. So congratulations, Brendan, the Agent of Chaos Award.
Congratulations, B. You never know what to expect when it comes to Brendan Hurley. A list of moves too expansive, too numerous to even recall. We just named a couple of people involved in trades, but you're a guy that's made the league fun. You continue to make it fun, and you give us a lot to talk about, and that's amazing. We appreciate that, and congrats on your Agent of Chaos Award. All right. Second, I am going to, I'll go with you. I'll get you out of the way here.
All right,
we'll just touch on it quickly. Call me Daddy. First ever recipient of the Wrong Moves at the Right Time Award.
Yeah, I love that.
Does that resonate at all with you, Sam?
Yeah. Oh, man, I've worked my whole career for this.
Congratulations. At least one half of that, I think, has to be a little bit gratifying. There is the right time aspect of this award, and man, it has just seemed to be one of those years for you. Constantly fighting from behind. It felt like whether it was, Jordan Love leaving in the first quarter, the knee injury, or Sam Darnold or whoever it may be battling some injuries, Travis Etienne in the lineup, to Nico going down. You always had a response to something that happened to you where you were were you negatively affected by it, right? And I think most of those moves in the moment was the right approach. It just doesn't seem like many of them worked out.
Just turned out to be the wrong move.
It ended up being the wrong move, made with the right intention at the right time, and it just didn't work out for you, man.
So it goes.
At least you can hang your hat on the right time.
It's like in the NBA when they just throw a whole bunch of superstars together. Seldom does it work. And I chase names. Look, I turned Jamar Chase and DJ Moore into Justin Jefferson and Breece Hall. Worst decision of my season, turns out. But, I feel like I'd do it again.
At least you're not like the Jets making the wrong moves at the wrong time. All the time.
All the time, yeah.
Right. So there's a little bit there.
Still got hope for next year.
There's a little bit there.
I was in the championship 2 seasons ago, so it's like, still remember that.
At least you weren't rocking the little preview here, the Titanic Award. At least,
That's true.
You made some moves. So
yeah.
So anyways, there you go, Sam. Enjoy your award. Take it home. Show Hannah. Show it off to Scarlett. Put it on the mantelpiece.
Look what Daddy did.
Exactly.
This is why Daddy doesn't know your middle name.
All right.
Moving on. We are going to move on to young Evan. Evan, what a season. And we got a great award for you. Evan, recipient of this year's Sister Jean Award, ladies and gentlemen. Evan had a crazy season, ups and downs. Started real hot, real quickly. The team looked really bad. But here he finds himself in the playoffs. We're all rooting for him. He's going up against Goliath that just came off a 180-plus point performance last week. But you know what? It's a feel-good story.
Do you want to give real quick some context as to who Sister Jean is?
Yeah, for those that don't know, Sister Jean is the unofficial mascot of
Loyola
Chicago men's basketball team,
aka Cinderella story.
A Cinderella story, a team that found themselves in the tournament a few years in a row. I think 2 years ago was the last time they were there. And Sister Jean's there in her wheelchair on the side of the court, cheering her squad on as they enter the tournament, and they keep winning. And it's a feel-good thing. We're all cheering for them. We know they're going to lose at some point. We know that they're not going to win this whole tournament. But you know what? When we look at Sister Jean and look at her in the eyes, we think, hey, maybe, just maybe. They just might.
There are other forces at work in this world other than those of evil. Sister Jean is a living example of it. So, Evan, the Sister Jean Award, going in as the Cinderella story. And you got a lot of people rooting for you, Ev. So
let's go, Ev.
Let's see if you can keep going. All right. We're going to finish off 3 short of a train here. Lastly, we have your commissioner, Mr. Graham Simmons. Welcome, Pandemonium. He is the returning champion, and he is your recipient of the Nostradamus Award. Graham came into this season with a crystal ball. He had his eyes on a couple of these thoroughbreds. Like we said, he had access to the stables, and he had he put a down payment, an early order on Mr. Alvin Kamara and Mr. Saquon Barkley. He had rights to them and exclusive rights.
Exclusive.
Not only did he have rights to them on the team, but he knew. He knew that those guys were going to be some of the best out there. And what did they do? They came out and they carried. I gotta kind of separate Mr. Saquon a little bit from there, because that was the pick of the draft, your fantasy football MVP so far in this season. Just been doing things week after week that none of us could have dreamt of. I think Graham in his wildest dreams wouldn't have predicted it, but he is Nostradamus. He went from, I think, 4 games under 500 last year, ran the slate, wins the title, comes in this year, has his eyes on a few guys. Those guys hit like crazy, surrounded the Stallions with some guys that can contribute, that can pitch in, finds himself in the first round bye, ready to defend his title starting next week in the semifinals.
He's got some juice.
He's got the juice. I've said it all year. He's got something working for him. He's got some juju. He's got studs. He's got a team that consistently scores But you look at his team, a lot of guys that he drafted, especially comparatively to some other people in the league. So, if you're rocking guys that you drafted at this point of the season and you are one of the top point scorers and you have first round bye, that takes some foresight.
Absolutely.
And so first ever Nostradamus award goes to Mr. Graham Simmons.
Congratulations, Commish. All right, moving on. Let's journey on down to Top Gun.
Let's do it.
And for this year's first ever roller coaster award goes to none other than Mr. Ben Circus.
Friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast, Ben. Ben, if you're listening right now, drop us the roller coaster emoji.
There you go, Ben.
Ben, what a wild year for you. A draft, I think that a lot of potential, but a really high ceiling, low floor team.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you've had a team that looked really, really scary for stretches. You've had a team that looked the exact opposite of that for stretches. You've put up a ton of points. You've put up a not lot of points. What a roller coaster of a year, and still found yourself there at the end competing for that division title. Had some really good players on the team, had some bad impact from injuries, the butterfly effect of Tua. So yeah, roller coaster award of the year goes to you, Ben.
Crazy year for Ben. I mean, he experienced the highs, he experienced the lows. He had losing streaks, he had winning streaks. He had a name change. Never good if you have a name change.
Never good. Never a good sign.
Never good. He's had high weeks. He's had bottom out weeks. He's had trades that he was happy about, and he's had those same trades where he's pissed off about at separate times. So he had every variance that you could have associated with the team, he felt almost at all times. So roller coaster award goes to Ben, friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast, Ben.
Drop that emoji. Alrighty. Moving down the line here for Top Gun. I'm gonna hand out let's go to Kendall Cook. I'm gonna go to Kendall Cook. I'm gonna go to Kendall Cook, and I still don't know. What is it? 99 problems? What is it? I got what problems? Have we figured it out? What problems he has?
Maybe that's the point.
That's the point of it.
Yeah.
Just vague, mysterious. We don't know. There's issues here that need to get figured out, and if we don't talk about them, they're never going to get figured out. So to go along with that, I think it's appropriate that we give Mr. Kendall Cook our first ever Johnny Football Award. You know him, the infamous Johnny Manziel. We had Kendall Cook coming off an 11-3 season last year, record-setting as far as points go. It was basically the coronation of Kendall's fantasy football rise last year. It was a lot of talk. There's a lot of, put your money where your mouth is. He delivered. He came through. Didn't work out in the playoffs as, fantasy football is prone to do. But he rode that high into the offseason. He was grinding. He was excelling. He was podcasting. He was ready. He was databasing all the way to the tune of a hype video, our first ever league hype video. You helped him out with that. Came out amazing. I think we had a lot of laughs. We were all fired up. But you could see the determination in his eyes. He was ready to go. And I think in his own mind, he was entering this season as a number one pick, as a guy that was changing franchises, a cornerstone of the fantasy community. And, that didn't last long. I think for one reason or another, maybe there was a little bit too many red eyes to Vegas there right before the draft, but it didn't work out right off the bat how we wanted to.
Yeah, we could call this the Sean Watson Award would be another good award. Yeah, pick one, praise Olakonkwe, someone who's not even in the NFL. Found himself price enforcing and landing players that he didn't want to draft in the first place.
A little too big for his bridges.
Yeah, obviously that results in a pretty rough start, I would say. A big hole he dug himself into there. 0-7. But I will say this. He fought hard towards the end there.
Talent's there. The talent's
there. Ken was a candidate for the Sister Jean Award because I think he never lost hope, never packed it in, made some good moves, always a tenacious beast on the waiver wire, and that turned into some good players for him. And he was a home wrecker down the stretch, like always a team that he rattled off
middle of the stretch.
Middle of the stretch.
Unfortunately, he didn't home wreck at the end of that. He lost 3 straight.
That's correct. Won 4 straight. Putting up big points, and even in his losses, still looking dangerous. So it's a shame he Johnny Manziel'd himself those first 7 weeks. So Ken, congratulations on the first annual Johnny Football Award.
Good job, Ken. Good job. All right, take us on. Take us on to the next one.
Moving on, we are going to look at you, Mr. Casey, and you are the recipient of the first ever Trojan Horse Award. Casey, fresh off 185 or 180 plus points shellacking of the aforementioned Kendall Cook. Casey with a team that dealt with injuries all year, a team that would lull competitors into a false sense of security, looking at a squad depleted, looking at a squad rolling out the likes of Cleveland Browns wide receiver stacks, Buffalo Bills 3rd and 4th string wide receivers. And yet, Casey, you found a way to pillage throughout the season, locking up the division title, putting up a respectable amount of points along the way, and finding yourself having infiltrated the city walls of the postseason with a team that is looking dangerous and primed to make a deep run. So congratulations, Casey, on this year's Trojan Horse Award. And maybe next year I will pick one of your matchups correctly.
Casey loses 5 out of 6 games in a week 5 to 10 stretch, only to turn around, win 3 of his last 4. The last 2 in division in convincing fashion. And knocked down the gates.
Casey averaging 160 points a week down the stretch inside the division.
Sustainable.
To lock it up.
Good job. Good job, Casey. Way to go. We're all getting awards here. It's 2024. Speaking, our next award, we're going to finish up the Top Gun division. This one is going to the only Griffin Hunter, and he is going to receive the first and maybe the last, the Going Once, Going Twice, Going Wrong Award. This is year, I believe, 6 of the auction. And Griffin, 2019 was our first year. Yeah. So far, Griffin Hunter has not been able to crack not only the playoffs, but actually the plus side of 500 record-wise. It has been an absolute tough go of things for Griff. Griff, I know this has been a very frustrating time for you. Something about this auction has just been really bad luck. I thought this personally was going to be the year that you turned around. Well known for drafting very high quality teams, incredibly educated, incredibly knowledgeable. One of the, if not the most football NFL knowledgeable guys in the league, just has not translated to the gavel. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just he just doesn't have that concentration when the auctioneer is going. Maybe the auctioneer talks too fast. Maybe the gavel gives him some motion sickness. Whatever the case may be. Paddle phobia. It's a bit of a fear of auctions.
It's a real thing.
It is a real thing. Whatever the case, there is always next year, and I will refrain from dubbing it the year of the Griff. But our first ever Going Once, Going Twice, Going Wrong Award goes to Griffin Hunter, coming up dry again.
Congratulations, Griffin. Moving on to our final division. Huge, massive, muy largo in Japan. And we will start off with none other than Mr. Griffin Springfield, who is this year's winner of the first annual Sedin Twins Award.
Woo!
A little background for those that don't follow hockey. The Sedin Twins were some extremely good hockey players for the Vancouver Canucks. One of them, I believe, the all-time leading scorer for the Vancouver Canucks. The other one, all-time leading assists or point, whatever.
We're not
however
hockey guys here.
works. We're not hockey guys. Not going to pretend to be. But they, despite being very good and despite being on some very good teams throughout their career, did not ever taste championship glory. I know that's, obviously spring, most championships in our league. So this is strictly a 2024 award. But spring, you had a good team all year. You had people, at least on paper, that looked scary. You had on paper what looked like the best running back stable of the year. You had amazing wide receivers. Made some moves that we talked about earlier that were the right move, just didn't pan out, unfortunately. Oh, to think what your team would look like with Baker and Gibbs and JK and McLaurin. But alas, here we are, entering the abyss of a playoff-less postseason, and you are the first winner of the Sedin Twins Award.
It's a tough life, Griff. Fantasy football is not as fun when you're not winning rings every year. And this is an award that many of us probably could have won on many other different occasions. And so you have the prestigious title of our Sedin Twins Award this year. All right, let's move on. I want to go to Mr. Luke and Dom's fantasy. Luke and Dom, they are the recipient of this year's Silent Assassin Award. I think the award speaks for itself. I think, what did Theodore Roosevelt say? Speak softly and carry a big stick or something, or
carry that.
Maybe that was Franklin.
Stick.
Franklin, one of the Roosevelts. That was the epitome of Luke, and to a much greater extent, Dom, who pitched in a couple sentences every now and again in the group chat. Welcome, Dom. I know
Dom.
It was a warm intro, just dipping the feet in a little bit. So we appreciate that. Luke, as he's done now for a couple years in a row, drafts just a great, solid, deep team. We've talked about it. We've touched on it. A team that looked good, but didn't necessarily look like it was going to be top upper echelon sort of a team there. Just won. Made a couple of big moves using that depth to secure some heavy hitters on the team. Last second, week 14, makes his real first claim, grabs an RB1 right away, finishes 11-3 right there, tied for the best record in the league, with very little moves and very little chatting as far as fantasy football is concerned. Did pitch in with the occasional Kendall trash talk, which was always appreciated. So thank you, Luke, for that. But beyond that, he just was huge in Japan, literally. It was he was our namesake. He was basically the mascot for the division.
Literally.
He was just huge in Japan and won 11 games. And so first ever Silent Assassin Award goes to Luke and Dom.
Congratulations, guys. Good season. May this be the year that you make a little deep run in the playoffs. Moving on. And we will venture to you, podcast host.
Oh, okay.
This year, Thomas, you are the winner of the first inaugural Compound Interest Award. Congratulations. This award goes to the team that showed the most consistency and dedication to strategy, mindful, thoughtful moves, always looking ahead, planning for the future, and those moves all coming together at the right time, that compound interest paying off, that retirement account setting you up for life as we enter the postseason here. Just a season that, as we reflect with hindsight and look at the moves that you made, have turned out fantastic, have served the structure of your team well, and have put you in a position to not only be tied for the best record in the league, to have scored the most points in the league to secure the first round bye, but to, have some real dangerous matchups when it counts in the semifinals and finals, and a team that looks arguably like the scariest team to face in the postseason. So congratulations.
Thank you. I want to firstly, I want to thank God for, putting me in this position.
Yep.
I want to thank my family. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Jess, and, our new baby, Beckham. He helped a lot. He's been very lucky. A great luck charm the last 2 weeks. I want to thank Jamar Chase. And by proxy, I'd like to thank you.
You're welcome.
For blessing him to my roster.
Least I could do.
He's a good fit in the locker room. And those are the kind of guys we'd like. I'd like to thank the fantasy gods for this Monday night matchup against Luke, for helping me overcome some odds. I misspoke when I said I was dialing up 20 from Bucky. I meant to say that I was going to dial up 38 from Jamar.
Yep.
And to have him single-handedly beat both T. Higgins and Joe Burrow. That was a mistake on my part. I apologize. But the dial came through. I, got with Evan, changed coverage, made sure I strengthened that signal, and we made it happen on Monday night. So all of you that had a hand in this, I'd like to thank you. And just praying for the best here. I heard the term compounding a while ago. We said compounding. It's all about compounding. Still have no clue what it means, but I know that it's good. So let's continue to compound as we move forward.
It's all about time in the market. So good job, man.
All right, let's wrap this up. We're going to wrap up our FFtilD Death, our first annual FFtilD Death regular season awards here in 2024. And we're going to end with wop, 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 JFM up. It is
not a penis.
That has been confirmed to not be a penis. We know that for sure. And Mr. Jason Gregory, hopefully soon to be a resurgent friend of the podcast.
Yes.
In time.
We miss you, Jay.
We miss you. We love you, Jay. He is the winner of our Captain Edward J. Smith Award, a very prestigious and noble award.
Yes.
I couldn't go to a better guy, and we're happy just all around that we can gift this to him, have him hang it up, show it off as he moves into the off season.
Yeah. One more time for Jason. That is the Captain Edward J. Smith Award.
And we'll end it there.
Yeah.
We don't need to extrapolate. We don't need to expand. Congratulations to our 2024 FFtilD Death season 17?
Season 17.
V17. Award winners. V17.
Good job, guys. Honestly, I just want to say this has been, to date, I think, my favorite season to participate in. I love how the camaraderie that our league shows, how involved everyone is. It's just been a blast. It's been fun to read people's think pieces every week, to do this podcast. And, I think it also results in this having been one of the most competitive seasons I can remember. It's cool to come down to the final week with 10 of the 12 teams still alive, and 10 of those 12 teams, and even 11 of those 12 teams, even though Ken was eliminated, liable to do damage in the postseason had they made it. So, yeah, good job, guys.
Yeah, and I'll echo that. Obviously, as far as the actual teams go, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Incredible parity. Everyone in this league, from top to bottom, excellent managers, really savvy, great at the game, fun to play with. And as a guy who, has a really good time doing it year after year, I thank you for that. The more competitive the league is, the more fun it is, right? I mentioned in my think piece, what's the point of doing something if you're not going to actually invest in it or care, right? Because then the highs of winning are basically muted, right? And we want to experience that joy of that. That's why it's so annoying when you lose. Hunter, I know it's been a rough go, but I totally feel the frustration with all the things that have happened. But, the highs are high, the lows are low. As far as the participation of the league, I couldn't agree more. Across the board, great idea, Kendall, with the think piece. On the surface, you would think 12, 13 guys with busy lives, busy schedules, that would just seem like another chore, an errand to throw on people. Everyone responded so well.
Honestly,
so open-minded to it.
No one missed.
No one missed. Everyone did it.
Amazing.
No one complained about it. And I mean, if you put that task in front of, I mean, I don't even know what other sample size, but I couldn't imagine that it would get done, A, or B, even be received well.
Exactly.
And everyone did it. It did a great job with it. It was such an amazing part of the league. So kudos to everyone that was involved there. Appreciate the involvement with the podcast. I love the feedback that we get all the time. Clearly, you guys enjoy it, are invested in it. Obviously, us doing it in person, we love that, and it gives us some drive to keep going and keep pumping them out. So, amazing year, amazing regular season. Obviously, it's not finished.
It's not done.
We still have a postseason, and I think before we send this episode off into the sunset, I think we should just give a quick, because we got to go. A quick little playoff preview, maybe a couple playoff predictions here for this week of the playoffs.
Let's do it. So first things first, you're on bye with that awesome win last weekend, and the commish is on bye, which leaves our 2 playoff matchups this weekend. Luke and Dom versus Brendan in what on paper appears to be quite the David versus Goliath matchup.
Brendan wouldn't have it any other way.
And Senor Casey taking on none other than the Horse Lords. Evan himself in what appears to be a little bit of a closer matchup. But man, both these teams put up some points last week. Can Casey keep the Allen magic going? Sans CMC, sans Jordan Mason. But looking like a pretty solid team there. So, any predictions for these 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, like you said, they do look, I would say, if not heavily weighted, at least, slightly weighted towards, Luke's team and also Casey's team, especially with the recent run. If just starting looking at Casey versus Evan, I think this matchup is going to be close. I have a feeling that this is not rocket science here. This is not me making some bold prediction. There's going to be a little of a letdown from the second highest score ever in history of our league. I have a feeling.
Has to be some aggression, right?
I have a feeling there's going to be a little bit of a letdown there. We'll see if Detroit's defense can show up against Buffalo. It's in Detroit. I have a feeling that they'll play tough. And so I see this game going down the wire. As far as who I'd rather see in the playoffs, I'd like Evan to take this dub and move forward. I think that the upside of Casey's team is a bit scarier. So no offense, Casey, but I will be rooting for Evan in this matchup. But if I had to put money on it, I would probably pick Casey here.
Yeah, and this is coming from a guy, disclaimer, that hasn't picked a Casey matchup correct all season, but I am seeing this as a win for Casey.
Kiss of death.
Things are just clicking for Casey. If anything, it's just good to get that distraction of CMC out of the way. Get that out of the locker room.
Sometimes that's what it takes. Some of my best teams have been jettisoning my first round draft pick.
So you just have to cut bait sometimes. But yeah, things are coming together for Casey. Evan's going to need some big performances out of his guys. Although he does have some favorable matchups, it seems like this is Casey's week. Moving on to Luke and Brendan, I think this is just the underdog in me. I just feel like Brendan's going to win this.
No way.
It's not going to happen.
Are you picking Brendan? Are you officially on record?
I'm not picking Brendan. But I do remember the struggles that Luke and Dom have faced the past 3 or 4 years in the first round of the playoffs. Mm-hmm, something just goes wrong for them. And I don't know what it is.
Look at Luke's team right now. Tell me where do you see this going wrong? Joe Burrow getting hurt in the middle of the game?
Yeah, something crazy happens. Joe Burrow gets hurt. Tennessee upsets the Bengals for some reason. Tennessee's defense has been feisty throughout the year. Devontae Adams And, against Jacksonville is like, of course, he's going to have a great game. But, like, the Jets suck, so maybe he scores 2 points. You just never know.
So basically just take conventional wisdom and then think of the worst case version opposite of conventional wisdom. And that's within the realm of possibility.
Mm-hmm. Brock Bowers is going to score 25. That's for sure.
How about Derrick Henry against the Giants?
Yeah, Derrick Henry's old and washed up, apparently.
How about James Conner at home against one of the worst teams?
James Conner's never played a complete regular season.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see where you're coming from.
I'm picking Luke. But when we sit down next week, let's just revisit this conversation.
I'm picking Luke too. Like I said, the very selfish vested interest in my future matchups have me rooting for Mr. Brendan Hurley here. I will go on record and pick Luke. Very chalky. Casey, Luke, parlay. Brendan, he's going to need a superhero showing from Mixon. He's going to need Davis to just sparkle with his split 50-50 carries with Braylon Allen. He's going to need Kelsey to turn back the clock. He's going to need Denver to absolutely abuse Anthony Richardson. He's going to need Tua to show up in a track meet against a bad CJ Stroud, not track meet Houston Texans team this year. He's going to need Reed to not have a goose egg, 0 catches. He's going to need Metcalf to not be the wide receiver 2 on that team like he's been for 5 weeks now. So there's a lot of things that need to go his way in terms of positive regression, and there's a lot of things that have to happen for Luke's team in a negative regression.
Brendan has to hit a 6-leg parlay, basically, to win this game. With 3 of those 6
which is
picks being
doable.
underdogs.
We've seen it.
It's possible.
It's possible.
It's happened a number of times.
B, you got this. Bite those kneecaps. Knot them. Scratch and claw with your fingernails for that inch. You got it.
You got it, B. Whatever you've been doing in the locker room, keep it up.
Alrighty. Those are the 2 matchups this week. Obviously, I will be awaiting the winner of Luke and Brendan. Luke, if things go his way, it'll be round 3. Is it easy to beat a team 3 teams in a year? Because I'm 2-0 against Luke. I don't like that. I don't like that as far as the odds go. And then Graham will face the winner of Casey and Evan. Couple narratives here. We have a potential, depending how things plan out, rematch of Brendan and Graham in the championship. That's lined up in the bracket. We also have a semi of the Simmons Bros Battle of the Bloodline set up if he should take down Casey.
Is the bracket locked? Or so first seed doesn't play lowest remaining?
I was asking Graham about it, which I wish that was the case. There should be some better tool or functionality with this app. But I asked him, does the 1 seed play the lowest advancing seed, or is the bracket just locked? And he said, there's no way to do it. It's just locked. So it looks like I will
Well, that's good. You can start preparing at least for one of 2 outcomes. Yeah.
I'll get the guys ready. I mean, like I said, it's a bad matchup for Luke.
It is.
It's just one thing or another. It's just a size mismatch, really, is what it comes down to. It's a game of matchups, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't match up well against you, clearly.
Yep.
I don't match up well against Springfield. I don't know who else I lost to, but there's a few out there.
So it goes. Well, that's our our first ever transitional episode. We're transitioning.
It's 2024. We can do whatever we want.
This is our in-between regular season, postseason episode.
We'll see if we can get more than a couple of views. We'll see if our viership drops by 50%. It's liable to drop by 50% here as people
I don't even
delete
listen
apps.
to the podcast anymore.
You're gonna edit it, leave it up for 30 minutes, take it down. Yeah, we'll see. Well, hopefully you guys keep listening. We're gonna transition, I think, from pure fantasy to eventually, broadening the horizons in its topic and the subject matter. So would love to elicit the support there, but still a few more weeks of fantasy related. We can do a blend of fantasy and story time too. Obviously, when it comes to the semifinals and finals, we're not going to want to talk for an hour about these 2 matchups.
Only 2 matchups. Yeah.
So we'll play it by ear. Maybe we can have a collaborative effort, see what the group kind of wants. And
if there's something you want us to dive into, Lee.
Oh, you know what we should do? We should get multiple guests, the people that haven't been on yet.
Down. Yeah.
We should do more of the
talk
panel.
We don't want to force anyone to be on, but if you want to be on, we'd love to have you on.
Yeah. A panel interview.
Yeah.
Season in review. We can have a season in review.
Yeah. That sounds great. Put your hand up if you want to join.
Emoji. Hand up emoji if you want to have a large Skyped out therapy session. Fantasy therapy session.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Close the book.
All right. Well, that's episode 14 in the books.
Episode 14. One and done. I need to go be a dad now.
You go do that.
I need to go be a dad.
I should probably check in on the nanny as well.
Oh, you're on the nanny stage. We're not quite at the nanny stage yet. We're still on the fresh to death, fresh out of the oven.
Yeah. This podcast has been a significant percentage of your son's life.
Yeah. And he's been, I think, making noises and crying the entire time.
Where's Dad?
He hasn't slept once, and I was hoping that he'd be sleeping this entire time.
Yeah. No, he's been going. He's thrashing around over there.
He's thrashing. Babe, I'm damage control. It's coming. Don't worry. I'm coming to do damage control. Hopefully that landed well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Good luck this weekend to everyone. And we can genuinely say good luck to everyone.
Good luck, y'all. Do me a favor and vibe out to this outro music. Later, guys.
Peace.